Um, right after I do the welcome, I light the candle. We call it a chalice, and there's a little ceremony involved. It's short, and then at the end, we extinguish the chalice. And there's a little verse that they say when they extinguish the fire. And then after you speak, a little later, I have what they call communion candles. And what that is they allow anybody from the congregation to come forward, light a candle for a concern or a sorrow, or something that is bothering them, or something that maybe joy. And each one can light about 10 or 15 candles. So you could actually sit over there if you'd like. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, or you can take the chair, whatever you would like to do. You're going to be up and down quite a bit, so.
Okay.
Jeff? Jeff? Okay, good. Must be music, so you'll just
Sure, go ahead. Good morning. We have two distinguished special guests with us this morning. We're going to start with a singer from the Onondaga Nation. His name is Chris Thomas. He is an Onondaga social singer from the Beaver Clan. Chris, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Again, he said, my name is Chris Thomas. I'm from Syracuse, New York, from Onondaga Nation. And I just came to be a part of this small event here and share a couple social dance songs with you guys. They're non-ceremonial songs, so it's okay to share with a public setting. So this first song I just want to share with you is called Women's Dance. And in our culture, we highly honor our women. They're the boss. And so, so they have their own special dance to honor all our women, ours as well as yours. So this is a women's dance. Hi, hey, how about you? Hey, hey, how about you? Hey, hey, how about you? Hey, yo, hey, hey, navia, hey, how about you? Hey, hey, how about you? Hey. hava yo va he yo he va ga na ya he ya hova yo va he va hava yo va he va hava yo va he yo he va ga na ya he ya hava yo va he va hava yo va he va hava yo va he yo he va ga na ya he ya hava yo va he va hava yo va he va hava yo va he yo he va ga na he ya. Thank you. All right, next we have, I'm not sure.
That's me.
Oh, okay, you can take over. Thank you.
Very good, thanks. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Utica. I'm Jerry Reed. Many people know me here, but I'm the editor now of the U3 View, the weekly newsletter, and a member of the communications team. Whether you are visiting for the first time or have been a member for many years, you are welcome here. Whatever faiths you have known, if any, you are welcome here. Whoever you are, whomever you love, you are welcome here. We are invited to bring our whole selves to this worship service, our doubts as well as our convictions, the pain and joy that we have known, our longing for connection and understanding. Every part of you is welcome here. Our congregation acknowledges, as we begin Native American History Month, Heritage Month, that the land on which the Utica is situated is the ancestral land of the Oneida Nation, one of the original nations of the Haudenosaunee or Iroquois people. If you are visiting us for the first time, either in person or online, we are glad you have joined us. We would love to have you learn more about us, and we learn more about you and connect with our newsletter if you'd like. There will be a link for those online in the chat so that you can sign up for the newsletter if you'd like. Let us open our hearts and minds to the experience of community and the wisdom of love. We now light the chalice. We light this chalice this week with these simple thoughts in mind, based on an old proverb which has taken many forms. Perhaps you've heard it before. Reputation is who you are in the light of the chalice. Character is who you are in the darkness. For today's call to worship, I call on another proverb or poem said to be of American Indian origin, with some thoughts about spirit. Everything on earth is borrowed. There's no mine or yours. There is only ours. Even time is borrowed. We war over a plot of land that belongs only to our Mother Earth. All you have here is what you came with and what you will leave with, your spirit. For our first hymn this morning, we turn to the Teal hymnal, and it's number 1073, The Earth is Our Mother.
The earth is our mother, we must take care of her. The earth is of her. The sea is our sister. We will take care of her. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. The forest is our brother. We will take care of him. The forest is our brother. We will take care of him. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young.
As we traditionally do at this point in our service, we have Together Time, and our Together Time today is going to be provided by our guest speaker. I first became acquainted with today's guest speaker when I worked for the Media Relations Department at the Oneida Indian Nation. I was there about 11 years. At the time, we were helping the media to understand the origin and the importance and the craft of making lacrosse sticks that had been handed down for generations. Not only does he make them, he also is the manager of the heritage programs at the Oneida Indian Nation and the Sequoia Cultural Center, which I strongly suggest you visit. It's on Route 49, just south of Oneida. Ron has our Together Time story this morning, so please welcome from the Oneida Indian Nation, Ron Patterson.
Suguli Seguego, Ron Patterson, Neongets. Hello, my name is Ron Patterson, and it is a pleasure to be here this morning with you. As Jerry was saying, I'm going to deliver you a little bit about a story that's handed down for generations and generations and generations. The way that our people learn is through an oral tradition. Everything that we've learned for hundreds of years have been passed on by our grandfathers and grandmothers. Everything that I know today was taught through my father, my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother. So this is something that, this story, I passed on to my daughter. She actually wrote a book for the nation called The Legend of Two Teams. She may tell it a little different, but it has the same core ideal to it. So as Jerry was saying, I make lacrosse sticks, and the big premise behind lacrosse sticks is not just a game. Today we look at it as a game, but to our people, it was a healing ceremony. In the essence that we didn't get out there and cheer for the one to win or lose, but we got out there because the creator loved the game of lacrosse. And if anyone were to get sick in our community, they would play a game of lacrosse, hoping that in favor of this game for the creator, that person would become healed. So with this story, begins with the animals and the birds. Meanwhile, while we're playing the game, they can still observe us. They watch and they look at us. And one day the animals said, you know what? I want to appease the creator. Let's have a game of lacrosse. And the birds overheard the animals talking, and they said, well, you know what? We want to have a game of lacrosse. So the bird got together in their council, and the animals got together in their council, and the bear sent forward the wolf, and the eagle sent forward the owl, and they met. And they said, you know what? Let's have a game to see who has the right to appease the creator through this game of lacrosse. So one day, they came together, and meanwhile, the smaller animals were watching. watching. So you had the squirrel watching, and he's looking. And as the bear and the wolf and the deer and all the animals were congregating and going over their coaching of the game, the squirrel says, "Well, you know what? I want to play." And the bear said, "You can't play. You're too small." And the deer looked at him and goes, "Look at your little legs. You're too slow. You can't play." So the bear told him, "Just go on to the side and watch." But like every animal, every person wants to be involved somehow. So the squirrel turned around and walked away. So meanwhile, the birds were congregating and they were doing their coaching strategy. And meanwhile, he was watching the mole. The mole was sitting there, and he was listening to them, and he goes up to them and says, "Well, I want to play." And they said, "Well, why don't you go and ask the animals to play?" The bird council told him. So the mole went back to the animal council and asked, "Can I play? We want to play." And they laughed once again. "Ha ha ha, you're too small. What are you going to do?" So now you have the squirrel and the mole, and they're to the side, and they're thinking to themselves, "What can we do? How can we be part of this game?" So the Creator looked down upon them, and he thought to himself, "Well, geez, what can we do?" So he empowered the birds and said, "Help them out." So the squirrel and the mole went to the birds, and they said, "Well, can you help us out?" The birds say, "Yes, we can help you out." And they thought and they thought, and the owl says, "You know what? Get us the water drum." That's the drum that Chris sings with here. Get the water drum. So they get the water drum, and they take the leather off of the top of the drum, and they take it to the squirrel, and they begin to pull it and tie it to him, and next thing you know, poof, they threw him off the top of the tree. As the squirrel was falling, they said, "Open up your arms." And he opened up his arms, and poof, the Creator turned him into a flying squirrel. And he went from tree to tree, flying very fast back and forth. He says, "Wow, now I can fly. And now you're going to play for the birds." So they looked at the mole and they said, "Well, this is going to be a little tougher. What can we do?" They go down to the mole, and all the bird council is looking at him, and they said, "You know what? Everybody grab a hold of his skin. Grab a hold of his skin, and let's pull it." So next thing you know, they grabbed the mole. They pulled it and pulled and pulled. So it was very thin. All his hair started falling out. All the birds, the eagles, the crows, the hawks were pulling, stretching it. And next thing you know, all his hair fell out, and they flung him off the top of the tree. He began to flutter and flop through the air towards the ground. The Creator looked, and poof, he turned him into a bat. He flew around, didn't have a whole lot of control, but he was fast and he could move quickly. So the game began to go. And the way the ancient games used to start were soon as the sun would come up and soon as the sun would go down, that was the start of the game, and that was the end of the game, the setting of the sun. So the game went on, raged on all day long. First, the bear comes out and he scores the first goal. Then the eagle comes out and he scores the next goal. It goes back and forth like that, matching each point. And then as the sun was begin to start to set, they needed one more point. It was a tie game. So the deer comes down and he's got the ball and he's like, we're gonna win this game. Passes it to the bear and he rages towards the goal. Then he passes it off to the elk and the elk brings it down. Meanwhile, the birds are flying and trying to catch them. So thinking together, the squirrel and the bat, the flying squirrel and the bat, sat near the goal line. And as the elk shot the ball to score, in comes the squirrel, catches the ball, prevents them from scoring. As he grabs it, he looks up and he sees the bat, flings it up to the bat. The bat begins to fly towards the goal. Meanwhile, the wolf and the deer are trying to catch him, and they're going back and forth. Then finally, the squirrel comes in again and catches it and scores the final goal as the sun begins to set. Now, all of our stories have a moral to them. Now, the moral of that story is that no matter how big or small you are, you can contribute to your people or your cause. So we continue to tell this story to our young folks, because no matter how big or small you are, how old you are, what your gender is, if you come together as a team, in a community, you can always accomplish whatever difficulty you have in front of you. And we call that the story of the animals versus the birds. Thank you.
Chris? Well, welcome for you again. So, yeah.
I always like that story. It's pleasant, yeah. But again, in our culture, we never ask for anything. We just give thanks for what we have already, because everything on earth is already provided for us. So we just, we give thanks. So in our social dances, each one do have like, we just like give blessing to them. So we have like our three sisters, what is the corns, beans, and squash. So I wanted to sing a corn dance song for you guys. So this is it. Haga jiva handeva heyo hoyonan he. Haga jiva handeva heyo hoyonan he. He hoyan he yaveyo. Hai ya haga jiva handeva heyo hoyonan he. Hai Anga deva handeva heyo hoyonani he hoyani aveyo hai ya anga deva handeva heyo hoyonani hai ya anga deva handeva heyo hoyonani we hoyani yaveyo hai ya hanga jiva handeva heyo hoyonani hai ya yo ha. Thank you.
Think about the words, the seventh generation. And Ron will talk about that.
You know, it always lifts my heart when I hear Chris sing. I've known Chris since he was just a little boy, but it always makes me feel good. When we talk about the seventh generation for the Haudenosaunee people, it goes back millennia. thousands of years. And when we go to look at where we get our direction, where we come from, we have to understand where we come from before we can send forward the next generation. And a lot of that information is told to us through what we know as the Great Law. The Great Law is our ancestral law that gives us our direction in life. It has components in it that deal with governmental ideals, social skills, and religious beliefs in beings. So when Chris was saying he's singing social songs, those songs are social songs, but there are certain songs that are sung that are specifically done just for ceremony. You won't hear them out on the street. You won't hear them at any native event. Those are strictly held for the people of the Longhouse, the Haudenosaunee. And when we get the understanding of that, Haudenosaunee means people of the Longhouse. Now, we recognize the Seneca, the Cayuga, the Onondaga, the Oneidas, and the Mohawk. In the early 1720s, the Grand Council adopted the Tuscarora Nation. But when we go to look at that, the misunderstanding that people have at times is that those names are not the nations. Those names are the actual geographical locations of the 9 families, and those families are referred to as clans. Chris is Beaver Clan, I'm Wolf Clan. There are 9 families. There is 3 air, 3 land, and 3 water. For your water, you have the eel, the turtle, and the beaver. For the land, you have the deer, the bear, and the wolf. And for the air, you have the snipe, the herring, and the hawk. That is the 9 families that make up the Haudenosaunee people. Now, when you get back to, and I'll explain to you, the Seneca Nation. Seneca actually means, if you were to translate it, means people of the rolling hills. Because in their ancestral homelands, basically from Rochester and Letchworth and down into the Ohio Valley, there's a lot of rolling hills. If you've ever been through there, at this time of the year, it's very beautiful. Nice rolling hills through there. That's what Seneca means. And that's where the 8 families of the Haudenosaunee reside. When you move a little more eastward, you come into the Cayuga territory, which Cayuga translates to people of the muck or people of the swamp. Not because they're dirty or anything, but because their ancestral homelands are around the Finger Lakes. And around the Finger Lakes, like Montezuma's not far from here, but it is a big swamp. So they are referred to as people of the swamp. And that's where their ancestral homelands are. You get into the central New York area and you have the Onondaga people. Onondaga refers to people of the Great Hill. And if you've ever traveled down Route 81 through the Onondaga Nation, there is a great hill there. And at the bottom of that hill is where their ancestral burial grounds are, where their longhouse is. That's where their homelands are. Now, if you get a little more eastwards, you come into this area here, and you come into what we call in our language, Onyeta Aga, means people of the standing stone or upright stone. And that terminology goes back to the referral to our creation story, because they say that at the beginning, when the Creator made the 4 races of the world, he stood upon a giant granite stone in this area, and he gave the 4 races of the world their instructions before he sent them to the 4 corners of the world. That's why sometimes when you see some indigenous patterns, you'll see the circle with the 4 colors. That's referring to the 4 races of the world and the 4 directions of the world, because each one was sent to a different direction of the world. And the Creator stood upon a giant granite rock to give those instructions. That's why this is called People of the Standing Stone. You go a little more eastward, you get into the Mohawk Valley, and Mohawk translates to people of the flint, because to the north and south of the valley is mountain ranges. To the north of them, you have the Adirondacks. To the south of them, you have the Catskills. So in their soil, there's a lot of flint, a lot of stone. So they are known as people of the flint. So when you look at them as nations, today it's quite common for just to say Seneca, Cayuga, Onondaga, but you're referring to the 9 families that reside within those geographical areas. So that's even some of our tellings in the Great Law. When our ancestral law started, it was brought to us by the Peacekeeper and Hiawatha. And inside of that Great Law was a direction that we are not to marry into our own clans. And the reason for that is because our clans are our families. So, in essence, they're saying do not marry into your own family. There's 9 other families that you choose from, or 8 other families, being 9 families altogether. So these types of things in our Great Law and our understanding will explain that to us. There's very few that still know the understanding, and there's 128 different what we call strands within the Great Law. We call them strands are the wampum that we affix to sinew to remember and understand what the Great Law means. There are very few people who still know how to read those strands. But those strands, like as I explained earlier, will give you a direction to your governmental ideas. And I'll give you a little examples of each one of them, governmental, social, and religious. Our governmental is done through a matriarchal society. It's explained to us that we get our clans and our continuity by our mothers. Now, my mother was Oneida, and my father was Seneca from the Deer clan. My mother was Oneida from the Wolf clan. So that makes me Wolf. Now, if I went back to the Seneca Nation, the Senecas don't look at me as any part of their congregation or their people, because my mother is Oneida. We are a matriarchal society. And it is the clan mothers of our nation that select our next leaders. Because most of you mothers and grandmothers here today watch your young ones grow up. And you know what type of demeanor your men have. Are they smart? Are they witty? Or what is their character? Are they trustworthy? Is it someone that you are going to rely the next generation to take direction from? So that's when we leave it up to our clan mothers to decide who is going to be our next leaders. That is an example of something that our Great Law tells us. socially, our social understanding. When we are invited to, uh, if we're traveling and we go to another indigenous home, the first thing you're going to be offered is some type of comfort. Do you want some food? Most houses will make you sit down and eat. But that's the responsibility of that household, and that's the responsibility of that traveler to accept. Not because they're stingy or greedy, but because it is out of respect. They may have just had a feast, but if they are offered food, you always accept it. Because somebody who is offering you food in that household may not have, may have a slice of bread left, but they would offer that to you because that's the way of the great law. They say that our leaders are to take the shirt off their back to clothe the people. That's part of our social understandings. Even the raising of our children, how they're disciplined and how we carry on and make sure that we promote the next generation. So when we go to look at all of those things, we get into the area of religion. In our great law, we have different variations of understanding of giving thanks to the Creator. There's dance, there's song, there's a game that we play, Peach Stone game, that is played that the Creator loves to watch again. There's certain dances and drum dances that are done. These are all part of the religious aspect of it. We used to call them festivals years ago, long before our contemporary time. We called them festivals, but today we call them ceremonies. We have green corn when the corn becomes ripe, our harvest, our bean ceremonies, our New Year ceremony, maple, running of the sap, things like that. And we give thanks for that because we give thanks to Mother Earth for continuing to do what her instructions are. Because should Mother Earth decide not to do them anymore, then we have no life in front of us. So we give thanks to her and we give thanks to the Creator. And these are all part of our religious understandings. So even when Chris sings and we do social songs, we go out and we rejoice, we dance, we sing. We have a good time because we're giving thanks to the Creator. One thing that you'll never see our people do, and that's nothing against the non-native people, but we won't go out door to door or promote our religion. Like I said, there's 4 races of the world. Those 4 races were instructed their own religion, their own medicines, their own understandings. So when we have our ceremonies, it's only our people there. There's no flyers that go out and say, hey, we're going to have ceremony. It's by word of mouth. Harvest ceremony is coming up. And everybody will get on their best regalia. We'll go with their gastoas, their headdresses, put their leggings on, because they're going to go there and dance and celebrate to the Creator. And we promote that to our people, to our young people, that this is our medicine, this is our religion. And I can guarantee you, none of you have ever had someone come to you and say, come to our longhouse, come to our longhouse ceremony. A lot of times, if you were to go to one of the ceremonies, the chiefs or the clan mothers or the faith keepers would politely ask you to exit, because those are held for our particular people. So those are the continuities that we continue on to our people, our seventh generation, our next generations. The last 200 years have been really tough on our people because contemporary times brought in a new style of religion to the people, a new understanding, pushing out our ancient ways. But luckily for us, our young people, it left a void for them. So now the young people are yearning to learn the songs again. It's great to hear Chris sing. My daughter, she's a fluent speaker. She's a fluent Oneida speaker. I can't speak fluent Oneida. She can. It's that younger generation that no matter how much they were pushed away from their ancestral roots, somehow it continues to draw them back, and is actually good for our people because now we host our own ceremonies, we can do our own songs, we do our own festivals, everything that we need with our own indigenous society continues on through our next generations. So it is for the grateful cause of the great law, our ancestral law, that we are able to continue to promote our next generation. And with that, I thank you for having me here today, talking about the next generation.
Chris, go ahead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Soaking in that story. Very good, very good. Okay, well, that being said, in our culture, and when we sing these social dance songs, we do them for to uplift our spirits, to social with one another, and have a good time. And we still do these today, sing in our own houses with our families, just to sing. And in our longhouses, we sing these, and then people would dance. But as kids growing up, a lot of people like they're into it when they're little, but then they get at a certain age where they fade away from their culture, and it's not there anymore. But luckily, I stuck with it throughout my life, and I was always just very interested in it, and kept with it. So that being said, our children, we don't like make them and tell them you got to do this in our culture. We just encourage it and have them around it all the time. Just encourage them. So it's up to them if they want to come out to dance or if they want to sing. And people have their own gifts being born. So you can be a singer, dancer, speaker. But yeah, we don't force them. We just, have them around it. So that being said, I'm gonna sing a little bit more faster paced song for you guys, and it's called the Fish Dance. And to honor our fish, and in a certain part of this dance, it's a partner's dance, so 2 and 2. And in a certain part of the dance, they would switch positions, and that represents the fish swimming upstream. Fish dance. ya, we ya ho, na we yo, hey ya, haven't on, hey ya, haven't on, hey ga yo, hey ya, ga yo, ho, haven't, hey ya, we ya ho, na we yo, hey ya ho, na we yo, hey ya, ga yo, ho, haven't, hey ya, we ya ho, na we ho, hey ya, ho. Thank you.
All right, our next hymn this morning is number 21 in the original hymnal, the gray one, For the Beauty of the Earth. Okay, this is the meditation portion of the service, and today's meditation is by Kathleen Rain. It's titled Change, which also happens to be the theme for November. Change, said the sun to the moon, you cannot stay. Change, says the moon to the waters, all is flowing. Change, says the fields to the grass, seed time and harvest, chaff and grain. You must change, said the worm to the bud, though not to a rose. Petals fade that wings may rise borne on the wind. You are changing, said death to the maiden, your wan face to memory to beauty. Are you ready to change, says the thought to the heart, to let her pass all your life long? For the unknown, the unborn, in alchemy of the world's dream, will you change, said the stars to the sun, says the night to the stars, says the moon to the waters. Change. And speaking of change, the ushers will move among you today. I share a quote from the Roman philosopher Lucius Annaeus Seneca the Younger. We shall give as we should receive, or would receive, cheerfully, quickly, and without hesitation. For there is no grace in a benefit that sticks to our fingers. And the ushers may come aboard. Chris, if you'd like to have another song.
All right, I think this is my last song I'm gonna sing for today. And in the beginning I sang it, but I would like to sing another women's dance song, because in these our songs, we have ceremonial women's dance songs that we don't share with the public. Those are for our longhouses and behind closed doors. But these ones are called new women's chapel dance songs. So and in these songs, some of them people like make up, and people ask if there's do they mean anything, or do they have words? Yes, they do. Some of them do have language in them, and they do have meaning. But a lot of them are old chants just passed down from generation to generation. So again, another women's dance song to honor all women. Yo ho havini ya gona ve yo ho no yo yo ho havini havia ina hang na via ya gona ve yo no yo ho havini ya gona ve yo ho no yo ho havini havia ina hang na via ya yo ho yo ho havini ya gona ve yo no yo ho havini avia ina hang na via ya gona ve yo no yo ho havini ya gona ve yo no yo ho havini avia ina hang na via ya yo ho yo ho havini ya gona ve yo no yo ho havini avia hina hang avia ya gona ve yo no yo ho havini ya gona ve yo no yo ho havini avia hina hang avia ya yo ho yo ho havini ya gona ve yo no yo ho havini avia hina hang avia ya Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And again, thank you to Ron Patterson. We really appreciate their joining us today. Time now to extinguish the chalice. Now that we have come to this point in the program, and please join us with the words you know or the words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. We carry these in our hearts until we meet again. We close today with a thought from the Reverend Dr. G. Hooper. Let us take this moment to share and witness each other's life and greatness. May we honor the opportunity to share in the inherited worth or dignity of each other's knowledge and compassion. For this is a moment of deep concern that requires comfort and a practice of peace and compassion to comfort our sorrows or joys. Let us see in this moment that we are enough and that we are in this together. There is nothing that we cannot do if we work together for the good in each other. Let us be all we need be at this moment. Thank you. Oh, one more, I guess? Okay. I guess I inserted one extra one. Sorry. Do you have another one you can do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's thousands of songs. There is hundreds of songs to one dance. So this is just brief, and some of them might sound similar to you, but I meant, yeah, if you had like a longer time, but get into all that in details. But yeah, there is a lot of songs to just one dance, and we have multiple dances. But I'm gonna sing one more song for you guys, and it is called the Rabbit Dance. And in our culture, as couples, when we get married in our longhouses, this is the first dance that we do. So like we still do these in socials. The rabbit dance song, it's a couples dance, but it doesn't mean that you're in love and like when we do it on a normal thing. But when couples do get married, this is the first dance they do. So yes, this is the rabbit dance. Hey ho ho no hey ande no hayo no hey ande no hayo no hey ande no hayo ve yo hey yo aya ho ve yo ha ve ya hey ha hi ho no hey ande no hayo no hey ande no hayo no hey ande no hayo ve ya hey yo aya ho ve yo ha ve ya hey ya ha no hey ande no hayo no hey ande no hayo no hey ande no hayo ve ya hey yo aya ho ve yo ha ve ya hey ya hayo no hey ande no hayo no hey ande no hayo no hey ande no hayo ve ya hey yo aya ho ve yo ha ve ya hey ya no hey ande no hayo no hey ande no hayo no hey ande no hayo ve ya hey yo aya ho ve yo ha ve ya hey ya. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much. Join us in coffee. Thank you, thank you, thank you.